Okay, welcome to the vegetable project. And I could call it term paper, but it's a little more than that and a little more specific than that. There is a term paper to be submitted as well as a PowerPoint. And the PowerPoint project, you will also record something. I'll have to figure out how to do that with the online uh, format of this class, how I want to do it. I may do it as extra credit. I may do it differently. We'll see, but start planning for what you are going to do. So the document here, each student is required to select a specific crop for this class. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to just be a crop. It could be a disease of a crop. It could be producing seed for a crop. It could be different irrigation methods to produce a crop. There are lots of different ways to look at how you're going to do this, but it is a vegetable crop production project. And the only word in that statement, vegetable crop production project, that I really don't stick to is the word vegetable. I've had people do fruits and nuts and grains and other types of commodities, but it is about growing the crop. I don't want you to go off on things that happen with the product. You're not going to do different types of hops to grow for certain types of beer. You're not going to go into industrial uses of hemp products. You're not going to go into um, anything that is after the fact, corn ethanol production, things like that. You can do those in plant science, but this is vegetable crop production. So I want you to talk about irrigation. I want you to talk about fertilization. I want you to talk about cultural practices. I want you to talk about genetics and seed, different things, but all of it is about research, science. So you're comparing different things. I'll get into some examples in a moment, but at the end, oh, I've got to change this. That's no longer the case. I've got an old one up here. It's actually a 5-page minimum paper. Oh, wait, scratch that. I'm in the wrong class. I'm in my brain here. It is a 3 to 5-page minimum paper, but I think I've only given out 1A on a 3-page paper in all these years. I've been doing this for 13 years, and 3 pages almost always tells me that you're not trying, you're not looking at the detail, you're not getting into it sufficiently. I think you should aim for 5, but I will accept 3 in this class. But that does not include your title page with an abstract and your works cited page, which sandwich your paper. Page 1 doesn't count towards that 3 to 5 page minimum, and your works cited page at the end doesn't count. I want everybody to use double space 12-point Times Roman font, or your computer might be Times New Roman or just Times. They're all the same font that you see here on the screen before you, with 1-inch margins. So how are you going to format this? ABT 96 and your date. Name ABT 96 and the date in the upper right-hand corner. You're going to have that portion single spaced way up in the corner. Don't double space your name, date, and ABT 96. A descriptive title. This is not clickbait garbage that you would expect in an article on social media. I should know exactly what you are talking about. I do not want amazing new techniques for asparagus production. Techniques to do what? Uh, you have to be very specific. So, for example, um, you might do a comparison of fertilizer techniques to maximize asparagus production. That is a good title. Fertilizer techniques to maximize asparagus production. Hey, that now it's not Sammy, now it's Penelope, the puppy, who is missing Mama. And Penelope is really upset, but you've got to chill. All right. Lie down. And where was I? Okay, you need a title that is descriptive. I should read the title and know exactly what you are talking about. So what do you need to cover in your paper? You should give some introduction about the family. If I'm doing a lettuce project, it's from the Asteraceae family. And so the sunflower family. Talk a little bit about the family. You don't have to necessarily talk much, but you could at least a couple of sentences saying that lettuce is a very important crop from the Asteraceae family that includes chicory and sunflower and other crucial crops. They are all composite plants, or plants with composite flowers, and they have a X numbers of millions of dollars of importance to the Monterey County uh, economy. Again, you're introducing the idea about it. And some of these other things, I'm not going to go step by step, but you might pick a couple of these things to mention. It's a dicot. It's called Lactuca sativa. Again, I'm talking lettuce here, etc. And also, is it a warm or cool season vegetable? Um, is there any historical importance that you might want to throw in there in the introduction? And again, just going through, do not go through this list here that you see on the screen and try to talk about all of it. You're trying to create your own story with a little bit of cool background to introduce the paper and then lead into your topic. So again, your introduction should set the stage for what crop you are talking about. Now, if you wanted to do an insect, that is okay as well, but make sure you're relating it to a specific crop. So, for example, you might have a particular type of root aphids on lettuce that you're interested in researching, and different genetic techniques, or how the genetic technique works to breed for root aphid resistance in lettuce. Again, just some ways to think about how your paper would go. But make sure, again, you've got a crop, lettuce. You need to know about your crop. Even though you're really talking about the root aphid, if that is your choice, you need to know which crop you're doing it on. I do not want something super generic about, you know, some sort of beet armyworm, which attacks all kinds of crops. If you do beet armyworm, make sure you talk about how do you deal with it in a specific crop, not all crops that it might infest. So again, there's just a nice list of things. And now I get into more details, what you might do. Pests and diseases, I've already talked about. Root aphids and beet armyworms, but you could also do downy mildew in spinach, or any important disease that you would like of a given crop. Comparison of fertilizer types, organic versus conventional fertilization in a given crop, or the use of nitrate-based fertilizers versus ammonium-based fertilizers in the production of citrus, weed control methods, irrigation methods, drip irrigation versus furrow irrigation versus sprinkler irrigation in a given crop, comparison of cultural practices. There's lots of different cultural practices, how you raise the beds, how you manage your pre-irrigation, how you do all kinds of different things during the production of a crop. And applications of new technologies. Maybe there's a really cool new technology for machine harvesting of strawberries that's being investigated, or thinning of lettuce using a computer guided thinning machine. And you're comparing, or you're summarizing research papers comparing the relative efficiencies and costs of doing it using technology versus using traditional thinning crews. Lots and lots of things you could get into. So you choose a topic that interests you, and you got to get on this quickly. And I'm more than happy to get on the phone or on a Zoom meeting or whatever it takes to chat with you about this and help you. But you need to be thinking, what might I want to research? It does not need to be limited to the Central Coast vegetable crops. You could choose vineyards, orchards, tropical crops, agronomic crops, and on and on and on. The goal is to find research. This is not commercial stuff. I want .edu or .gov sites where you find a lot of these things, or peer-reviewed papers. So you will present a summary of what you learn in a recorded Zoom PowerPoint presentation. I'm not interested in your opinion on this paper, except you might have a little bit of opinion in your conclusion. But for the most part, you are doing a summary of research that you find, scientific research. So where are you going to find that? You're going to find that in our library databases and resources. And there's the Hartnell libguides.com research. I'll show you that in a moment. And you could try to contact the Hartnell Library and say, hey, help, can I get an appointment with a reference librarian? Google is a reasonable place to search, but not great if you're not good at how to do it. Newspaper, internet search engines can be good for some things, but again, this is about science. So be very wary about what you do in newspapers, even though in this class, I'm not as strict as I am in plant science class, because there are some things in non-peer-reviewed papers, like the Packer, for example, or Citrus Grower newsletter, that I would accept as references. The IPM for Integrated Pest Management, if you're interested in insects or diseases, that's a fabulous place to start. If you're interested in some post-harvest handling, which is the limit to what I will take, how do you make sure that you have a product properly cooled, properly delivered to your final destination? So there's definitely some stuff in post-harvest, but I do not want processing. I do not want anything that's way after the fact. But there are some post-harvest topics that could be a very, very valid use in this presentation. So then you write the paper. And again, I've got some guidelines here. Be sure to use lots of in-text citations. I generally want MLA format just because it's what you're exposed to here at Hartnell the most. I'm not a fan of MLA personally, but you can get help with formatting your in-text citations, as well as your works cited at the end of your paper from our own Panther Learning Lab. You could go to the Panther Learning Lab website or just search Panther Learning Lab on the Hartnell website, and they're there to help. Please use our Panther Learning Lab. Every single paragraph is an idea, a concept that you're getting from somebody else. There should be at least one, if not two or three, in text citations in every single paragraph, or you're not doing it right. There should be no idea in your paper, not one idea that you don't cite where it came from. Now, you could have one idea which is encapsulated in a whole paragraph. The whole paragraph is the same idea. So your in-text citation goes at the end of that paragraph. But more likely, a paragraph is built from multiple ideas from multiple sources if you're doing a good job with your research. I also really like the Online Writing Lab, OWL, the Online Writing Lab at Purdue University. I think they do a fabulous job of looking at citations, and it's available. The link that I show you here is available not only on this page, but it's also at the Hartnell Library website as well. I'm going to take a quick break here and be right back showing you some of the research options and sources.